Hello. So I'm wearing sunglasses because I'm light sensitive, so if you got a problem with that, deal with it. Secondly, this is going to talk about abuse, so if that's triggering, it's okay to skip this. And thirdly, this is also, there's going to be scenes with some flashing lights or movement that may trigger like photosensitive epilepsy seizures, so if your seizures are triggered by that, you might want to be careful when you watch or avoid altogether. And this is going to talk about Transformers 5 The Last Night. I'm going to try to avoid like the major spoiler, but I am going to talk about other things that might be minor spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers, skip this too, okay? So there we go. There is a scene in this movie that is straight up abuse. And I mean, it's something that really illustrates what abuse can look like, because people think that abuse is like dramatic, being thrown around a house and punched in the face and beaten like halfway out of your life, And sometimes, yes, it can look like that, but not always. Sometimes it's very small and subtle. So, by the way, that's not an earthquake. My camera mount is kind of a different thing, so it moves if I touch it. So, it's kind of floating, but not really. But anyway, the scene between Optimus and Quintessa is just a great straight up example of what abuse can look like. So we first see Optimus in the movie. He's in stasis, he's floating around, he's spinning, he's just kind of drifting. In space there's no like air to like slow you down, so once you get going at a certain momentum, you just kind of keep going. So, he's kind of in a robot coma. That's what stasis kind of is. And he's frozen over, he's got dents because asteroids have probably bumped into him, and it's just, he's not in a very good condition. But he wakes up when he crash lands on Cybertron, and Cybertron just looks very not right. I mean, it's kind of in pieces that are just barely tethered to the core. And on these big cables, it's Cybertron. It's just going through space in pieces. And Optimus, obviously he looks up, he kind of lands in this really cool pose where he's kneeling and he's got his sword, and he kind of just looks up and he looks around, and you can just see this rage in his expression. I don't know why his facial expressions are so easy for me to see, but they are just very easy for me to see. And he's just this look of rage on his face, and he's like, my home, what have you done to my world? And and you hear Quintessa call to him, and and he's like, you are my creator. And he is walking with a purpose. The way that people in a movie walk when they're mad? It's like their gaze is just directed right at their target, and they pick up speed and they kind of accelerate, and there's a bit of bounce in their step because they're really aggressive. Optimus is doing that. That is just like universal, I am really pissed off at you body language. They come at you, that's like, it's like, I'm gonna get you. And, he walks in there and he's reaching for a sword as he is walking in, and he's like, I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you. I mean, this is like Optimus when he has removed all pretenses of just being civil. And I mean, he has a good reason to be very angry and just want to just go and just kill her right now, because she's a threat to Earth, and Earth is the only home he has left, and there are people on Earth that he cares about, and that is all being threatened by Quintessa. So, like I said, he's going in there trying to protect his only living home that he has. And Quintessa, compared to Optimus, she is tiny and very non-threatening, non-assuming. But she is still much more powerful than Optimus is. So when he walks in there and he's reaching for a sword because it's on his back, and he's reaching like this. Actually, it's his left hand. I think Optimus is a lefty, honestly. So he's reaching, and as he gets the sword out, Quintessa throws this energy blast that knocks the sword out of his hand. And then she kind of does this mental trick of telekinesis or something that just restrains him. And he's pretty much immobilized, so he can't go forward or backwards, or really. All he can do is kind of go like this and just kind of struggle. And that's when Quintessa just throws another energy blast at him. And you see Optimus really jerk from it. And he falls to his knees. You know, he just falls down to his knees. And Quintessa is like, "You dare to strike your god?" And she just sounds so angry. You know, she was kind of sounding kind of cool and calm, but then this angry voice comes out of her. And she's got this very pretty and sweet sounding voice, so when it gets cold, it gets like sub-zero, absolute zero cold. I mean, so does Optimus. I mean, when he's mad, his voice gets cold. But Quintessa, it's chilling because she's a she. It's pretty obvious she's a she. So, she's just a very creepy character. But when she knocks Optimus to his knees, she's establishing dominance. And that's something abusers always do, is they establish their dominance. They dominate. So she gets Optimus down onto his knees. And this is where the emotional and the physical abuse kind of starts. Now, the big robot in this scene that's kind of walking around working with Quintessa, that's Infernicus. And he goes behind Optimus. And while Infernicus is stepping behind Optimus, Quintessa just spits an accusation at Optimus. "Your war doomed Cybertron." And now here's where the beating starts. You know, Infernicus, he's behind Optimus, and he just kind of smacks him in the back, and then he grabs his head, because Optimus is looking behind him trying to see who's hitting him, and Infernicus grabs his head and makes him look at Quintessa again. But Optimus, he's struggling. He's like, "Megatron started the war." And that's when Quintessa grabs Optimus' chin, and this is where the gaslighting is. And it's an accusation. She said, "You destroyed your world, you fool." And that's when she slaps him. Now, gaslighting is a form of abuse where the abuser makes their victim question what they believe and what they think. It's very subtle. It's like if, you were to come up to me and to say, "Do you like my red shirt?" And if I were to go, "That shirt's not red, it's purple." And then later you got the red shirt on and you like, "Do you like my red shirt?" And it's, "No, that shirt is purple." And then finally you go, "You keep saying this shirt is purple," and it's, "No, I said it's red. What's with you? What's wrong with you?" That's kind of what gaslighting is like. That's a very simple explanation. But remember now, Optimus, he sent the Allspark Cube out into space. He's the one that launched it, trying to stop the war, even though he knew that it meant Cybertron was going to die very slowly. But it was kind of a, kind of a choice between a slow death or a fast one. So he launched the cube into space, and Megatron went after it. I mean, Megatron just went after it, and Optimus is just like, "Oh no." And Optimus has struggled with that decision before he made it and after he made it. He has been struggling with this the whole time. And then Quintessa tells him, everybody involved in the war is to blame for what happened to Cybertron. But Quintessa takes all of that blame and she puts it completely 100% all on Optimus. And he's already vulnerable. So that's where she cracks him. That's where she cracks through all of his will and all of his wisdom and just all of these things that makes him Optimus Prime, and she just throws it down. Just like she knocked him to his knees. She knocks him down physically, and then she does it mentally. And then she slaps him. While he's reeling from that accusation, you can see it in his face. And when she slaps him, it's not just a little tap like this. I mean, it's just wham. And he doesn't turn his head. Her slap turns his head. And the sparks fly, and that's when you see the red spots start to appear. And it's not just there. It forms and it glows gold as it's kind of propagating around his face. And you could see his eyes being like twitchy, like ouch, that hurts. And it's like you see the physical pain of what's going on inside of his head. It's like every time you've ever been slapped by somebody, you know, there's just that shock. And, you know, Optimus is just in shock. He's just mentally just going, oh my god, or oh Primus, or whatever, by the Allspark, whatever they say that's their equivalent to oh my god. And, you know, Quintessa, she hits him while he's just reeling from that gaslighting accusation. And like I said, the mark, it takes a while to form, and then it kind of just solidifies and the light goes away. And that's when Quintessa's tone of voice changes, you know, from so angry, and now she's all gentle and kind of condescending sounding. Now, I was using 30-second clips that somebody had kind of snuck into a theater to take, so, you know, there's probably dialogue missing, but, you know, Quintessa, she's just like my perfect creation. You're going to fix it, or the race of Transformers dies forever. You know, she's just a very sweet tone of voice. And, you know, when she says that, you know, she's just very gentle, just from so angry to just gentle. It's really confusing. When you've been treated like that by an abuser, it's so confusing. But what she's doing is she's setting him up for more abuse. You know, so she's telling him, you know, you did this thing, and, you know, she's torn him down mentally, and now she's saying, but you can make it better again by doing, and I'll get into that, but that's another abuser trick that they do. They abuse you, and then they give you like something that may or may not appease them, but it's hard to know. So that's where she does the little cheek caress, where she goes like this, and she's leaning into his face, and she's like, I made you. You are mine to command. That's like when a parent that abuses their children says something like, I'm your mom, or I'm your dad, or I'm your uncle, your aunt, or whatever. I'm your authority. So you have to do what I say. You know, like that. And I mean, you know, that's just not an answer. If a kid says why, you don't say because I'm your parent and you do what I say because I made you. That's not right. That's never okay. That's never okay. And the whole time this is going on, Optimus just looks confused, hurt, and scared. It's a huge, huge contrast to how utterly pissed off he was just a short few moments ago. Excuse me. My throat's dry. So Quintessa has taken every doubt Optimus has ever had about every choice he's made through the entire war with Cybertron, and she's twisted it to destabilize him. She knows she's got him when he avoids eye contact and remains silent, instead of throwing out verbal barbs like, I'll kill you, why are you doing this, I'll kill you. He's just silent. And it's something else that's interesting to notice in that scene is that Optimus keeps avoiding eye contact. He's not looking Quintessa in the face very much. You know, he's kind of doing this. You know, I'll move my shades for a second here, but he's kind of going like this. You know, it's like he's just glancing at her, but most of the time he's looking away. Now, that's perfectly normal behavior for me because I'm autistic, but I don't headcanon Optimus that way. And I've noticed that, you know, when autistic people, when we make eye contact, there's a part of our brain that's like hypersensitive to faces. So when we make eye contact, it gets hyperactivated. So instead of it just saying, oh, there's a face, oh, hey, that's my friend Joe. You know, it's like they see the face and it's like, oh my god, it's a face, oh my god, alert, alert, alert. But Optimus is not autistic, so, well, at least not in my headcanon, he's not. So he doesn't have that hyper reaction to eye contact that I do. So the fact that he is not wanting to make it, that says something very important, because Optimus is a leader. You know, he is an authority figure, but he's not an abusive one. But he looks people in the eye. When he's talking to them, he looks them in the eye. He gets, mano y mano. He levels with them. Even if he has to kneel down, or if you're standing on a platform, he looks you in the eye when he's talking to you. And it's just a way that he's kind of respectful. Just, that's how he is. But when neurotypicals are avoiding eye contact, they usually do it because they feel like they've been dominated, or when they're defeated, or when they're afraid of somebody, or, just when they feel just very threatened, they avoid looking at the threat. So that's very telling of Optimus, that he has just been dominated here. He's just completely overpowered, and he's confused and reeling because Quintessa said all this crap to him. And a skilled abuser can tear somebody down real fast. And Quintessa does that to Optimus. She just totally screws with his mind. And she starts to, there's like scenes in between here, but then it goes back to them, and she starts feeding lies to Optimus about the staff, which is kind of like the MacGuffin or whatever, the red herring or whatever you want to call it in the movie. The term is not coming to my mind right now. But she's talking about the staff being stolen by her knights, that they had betrayed her, but actually they turned on her because it turned out that she was not a good person. But she's lying to Optimus and making it sound like they're the bad guys, and that she was the one being wrong. Now, how many abuse victims out there know that feeling when their abuser starts making themselves out to be the victim in the situation? Okay? Yeah. So she's telling Optimus about how the staff had been stolen from her, and that she needs it to be able to fix Cybertron. And, she's sweet talking to Optimus, and that's the part in the movie where she's all, "Do you seek redemption, Prime? Do you?" And that's where Optimus says, "My maker, I do." Because she's been feeding him all this crap, making him think that, somebody did something bad to Cybertron. And Optimus wants Cybertron and Earth to both be alive, but she is twisting him and twisting him and twisting him. There's more scenes in between, and then we come back to them, and she has him chained up again. And, she's, running an electric current through him. She's causing him a whole bunch of pain. And the thing is that Optimus is accepting it, because she has conditioned him to accept that as she's probably got him thinking that's part of his redemption. So she's causing him this physical pain. I mean, she's got him chained up, like you see in the previews where she's floating up to him with her arm out like this, She's got him chained up, and she's electrocuting him and stuff and causing him pain. And they're just talking, and, he's making sounds of pain like, like it hurts. Because, obviously it does. And Quintessa is just talking to him. And I can't say what exactly she tells him, because that would be the major spoiler. But she, like I said, she's feeding him this pain while she's feeding him this information. It's almost like she's using the trauma to stick it in his mind. So all I'll say is that Earth has the staff, and something on Earth can rebuild Cybertron. And she convinces him that this thing on Earth is something that must die for Cybertron to live. And the chilling part is that you hear Optimus kind of go, "Yes," in pain, while she's saying Earth will die and Cybertron will live. She's got him so twisted. And he accepts what she says is true, because she's totally squashed his will, and she's even twisting his identity. And the damage is complete when Optimus looks up and says, "I will fight anyone who stands in my way." Because abusers find out what gets under their target's skin, and they will just latch onto it and rip whenever they want to cause the maximum pain, whether it's physical or mental. Then they play move the goalposts, where they imply that if you do this thing, I'll stop being mad at you, or I'll stop hurting you, or I'll stop saying you're not good enough, or you'll finally please me. But then when somebody does that thing, the abuser is still not pleased. They're still not happy with it. It's like nothing you do will ever make your abuser happy with you. Nothing will ever get their approval. And, you know, that's the ugly side of abuse. That's the ugly side of it. And it's chilling to wonder what Quintessa might have done with Optimus if he had handed her the staff himself. If he had gone and come back with it and given it to her. You know, would it have been like, oh, that's a good boy, that's a good little lapdog? Or, you know, would it have been like, you didn't finish the job, you didn't kill Earth? You know, stuff like that. I mean, I could just picture just how horrible it could be. But the scene with the chains and the dialogue, where she just breaks him down, it's such a powerful moment. Because it shows how abuse doesn't take long to destroy someone. Especially if that someone is already vulnerable for other reasons. And it's not Optimus's fault that this whole situation happened. It's not his fault. He walked in there angry and threatening to kill her and all this stuff, but you know, the creator sent Lockdown. You know, in Age of Extinction, the creators, that's what Lockdown says, sent Lockdown to retrieve Optimus to bring him to Quintessa so that she could do this. But, you know, Optimus got Lockdown and just pretty much stabbed him through the back and killed him because he was a threat. And then he learned, you know, who sent Lockdown and who was using seeds and who was, you know, messing with transformium and stuff like that. And so Optimus is trying to protect something he values, which is Earth and the human race. Even though humanity has turned against Optimus, he still has some faith in us. You know, and it's that faith that drives him to try to protect us, even still. Even when we have been just a complete race of utter douche canoes to Optimus. He still fights for us. And that says so much about Optimus Prime as a person. You know, it's kind of like the 12th Doctor that says, do you think I care for you so little that betraying me is going to make a difference? And it almost did with Optimus. You know, Optimus is not the Doctor, but he almost quit on us. And Cade got his head back together. But now Quintessa is basically undoing what Cade had done. And ultimately, Quintessa takes two things Optimus values so much, and she forces him to pick one. But her tactics coerce him to pick what she wants. And you know that abuse has done really serious damage when the person that's being abused obeys their abuser's will instead of their own. And it's because they've been twisted into believing that they want what their abuser wants. When someone has been abused so drastically, even if it is just in a very short period of time, they almost can't think for themselves anymore because all their actions and choices and reactions and decisions and behaviors are all based on, will this please the abuser? Will this finally make them happy with me? Will this keep them from hurting me again? I'm sorry, that just... I got like this in the theater too. Just thinking about Optimus being hurt like that. And knowing that I know what it feels like. I just triggered myself a little bit there. Thinking about it too hard. I'm alright. I'm alright. But, you know, Optimus was really vulnerable in that one area. And Quintessa, it's like she takes a knife and just twists it into him. And she twists it where it hurts. You know, there's that chink in his armor where he's got that doubt, and she just takes it and she just twists it and she twists it and she twists it and she twists it and she twists it until Optimus almost doesn't even know who he is anymore. I mean, it's incredible how you only see it in little snapshots in the movie, so there's like room to consider what was happening in between all the scenes where you didn't see Optimus. You know, that's where the imagination goes. And that's where my imagination really can either hurt me or help me, or both. It's kind of both. But it's very easy to destroy somebody when you know where they're vulnerable. And Quintessa knew exactly where Optimus was vulnerable. And that's why what she does is so insidious. And that's why it can also look so invisible in the movie. If you have not been through that, it's hard to even understand why it's so painful. It really is. It's really hard, but that's the breakdown of this scene, and it is really, really very abusive. But the reason it doesn't seem like it is because there's not a whole bunch of major like throwing around, like I said. You know, you see some beating and smacking around, but I think the most heinous parts of it are the stuff that's not seen, the stuff that's inside. You know, the way that she messes with his head. It's just, it's really hard for me to talk about it because, I mean, I'm just remembering what happened to me in high school. And, you know, the girls are screaming at me and shoving my head in the toilet, and it's just, you know, when you hear people telling you all the time that you're garbage and that you're horrible and that everything is your fault, and you carry that with you, even if you made yourself believe, no, it's not, I did it because I had to. There's still that party that's always going to wonder, what if I didn't? What could I have done different? And when it comes to abuse and bullying, I want you to know, I'm going to take my sunglasses off so you can see my face, so you can see my eyes. When you're being abused, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Okay? It's not your fault. Because there's nothing you can do to make them not do that. They're going to do it anyway. They're going to find reasons and they're going to do it anyway. That's not your fault. Okay? But Optimus is an abuse victim. Not like a victim like permanently, but you know, he was a victim. He went through it. He's one of those heroes who knows what it's like. I mean, he's been through it for millions of years, but that one scene, you know, that one scene did a whole bunch of damage to him. And I think it's going to stick to him for a long time. You know, he's going to question himself, probably for the rest of his life. And that's what happens when you've been abused. You question yourself. But it's not your fault. Okay? If you've been abused or if you're going through abuse, you are strong and you are worthy and you do matter. And it is not your fault. I love you. Bye.